Scott here. Made a quick little trip out here to the Indian Creek Trail today. Kind of give you a little video of how I set up, how I select a site, how I set up my hammock. So yeah, just a quick little in and out along this trail here. This is the, like I said, Indian Creek Trail. And this actually meets up with the Colorado Trail almost halfway in to segment 1. This is the alternate entrance to it. So, yep, like I said, just quick in and out. Show you guys how I select the site. This is just some of the reasons why I hammock camping. I like to get out in the outdoors. Right now we're probably 12 miles west of Sedalia. And this is what you have. You're in the mountains. So if anybody out there is contemplating doing the Colorado Trail and starting Watering Canyon, so far I highly suggest this route instead of Watering Canyon. In Watering Canyon, you're walking along a dirt road. Sure, you have the South Platte River beside you, but it's kind of boring. Not a lot to see. I mean, you do have the bighorn sheep, stuff like that, but for sights, nature in general, I think this is the way to go. Like I said, I'm on the Indian Creek Trail. It starts over off of Highway 67, about 12 miles west of Sedalia, Colorado. But yeah, so far this is killer. You're in the woods, nice piney woods, if I do say so, and yeah, a lot better views. Cooler, not as crowded. This is Saturday and it's 2:30 in the afternoon, and I passed one group of hikers and one mountain biker passed me, and I've been walking for maybe 20 minutes. So yeah, if you're thinking of doing the Colorado Trail, use the Indian Creek Trail to meet up with segment 1. I was walking down the trail and heard all this commotion up in the tree, and looks like we got a little juvenile squirrel up there giving us a racket. It's only a little guy. Must be calling for mama or something. So I think I found my spot, and one nice thing about hammock camping is you don't need level ground like the tent campers do. As you can see, I'm standing uphill. The camera is actually perfectly level, so that kind of gives you the idea of the slope of what I'm standing on. And I don't know, I'm maybe 75 yards from the trail, down a nice little hillside. So I think I'm going to set up between these two trees. Alright, so one quick tip I learned is to take your trekking poles that you're hiking with and stand between the two trees you want to set up between, and extend your arms and the trekking poles out to the sides. You want at least this width between your trees. This just lets you you can tweak your suspension a little bit more and get the right hang angle. So yeah, just real quick and easy. You can after a while you can kind of eyeball it. Once you've been out a couple times, set up a couple times, you can start eyeballing the trees. So yeah, these are the 2 trees I'm going to use. So let's get started setting up. Usually what I'll do on a nice day like this is I'll set up my hammock first. A lot of the times if it's raining, you're going to want to set your tarp up first so that your hammock and where you're sleeping and your underquilts and stuff don't get wet. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take out my tree straps and get those going, and then we'll throw out the hammock. And this is just a quick little stuff sack I made to hold everything in. And when I got into hammock camping, I guess you could say I dove in with both feet and made a majority of my gear. I made these tree straps here out of just some 1-inch nylon webbing that I bought from a vendor online, and started sewing. The stuff sack that I keep my hammock in was actually my first sewing project that I ever did, and I think it turned out pretty well. It works. It hasn't fallen apart yet, so can't complain. And I actually sewed on these loops in these tree straps also. Like I said, is 1-inch nylon webbing, and you want to use at least a 1-inch nylon webbing because anything thinner than that can damage the inner layer, the first inner layer of bark, and it can actually damage the tree and ultimately kill it. So you want to use at least 1-inch straps. It spreads the weight a little bit more. So let's get started setting these up. So one thing I kind of do is I started at about head height, and if I need to change it from there I can, but you want them, at least I always set mine up at least head height to start with. You just cinch that down around the tree, and then I'll show you later how your hammock suspension goes over this Dutch clip. So that's that. Now we'll grab the hammock, and I think I'm going to set up probably with my head end this way, so that when I get out of the hammock, I'm facing uphill, and I'm not facing downhill where I can roll downhill or fall or trip. So I'm going to set up my head end over here to my left, your right, and this is this is real easy. All you do is take the end of your whoopee sling, and this blue cord is called a whoopee sling, and it's really adjustable, really easily adjustable. And again, I made these also. I watched a quick video on YouTube, whoopee slings, how to make some whoopee slings, and these give you up to 3 feet of adjustment just in these little things, and it's all contained. The cord actually feeds back through itself, which is what stops it from slipping. So all you do, take the loop end, simply hang it over the Dutch clip, and essentially your hammock is hung. Now obviously you can't sleep in that, so all you have to do is you can either adjust the Dutch clip or the whoopee sling. And the reason I have 2 different colored whoopee slings, that end blue, this end green, is so that I know which end is my head end, which end is my foot end. Like I said, I want my head end on this side, and I get in from, I guess, the left side of the hammock. It's just easier to sit down and swing my legs up to the right for me, but to each his own. There's a saying out there, HYOH, a lot of people say hike your own hike, but the hammock campers have adopted that to hang your own hang. So, hang your own hang, it's all up to you. There's no set and fast rules with hammock camping, it's whatever's comfortable. So I'm going to actually take this and adjust this Dutch clip here real quick. Give me more adjustability in my whoopee sling if I need it. So being that these trees are a little closer than optimal, I guess, I'm going to take the Dutch clips all the way up to the tree, see if I can get some more adjustability out of these whoopee slings. That's a little better. And one thing you're shooting for is when you're setting up your hammock is you're looking for a 30-degree hang angle is what it's called. So what you want is this to be on a 30-degree incline here. Real quick tip that I learned is to actually just take your fingers like this and go up and put them up to the whoopee sling, and that is approximately a 30-degree angle between the tip of your pointer finger and your thumb. So we're almost there, but I actually have an app on my phone that's a clinometer that'll actually give me the true degrees, true angle that I have. Now that we got the hammock set up, it's time to either get the tarp out, or if it's a nice day like this, you can go ahead and get your quilts out, your top quilt and your under quilt, so that it allows them to loft, get the down lofted, so it provides a lot more warmth for you. So I think what I'm going to do is get the quilts out so that we can then move on to the tarp. And like I said, I kind of jumped into hammock camping with both feet. Everything you see here I made on my own. DIY is a big part of why I got into hammock camping, is because you can make so much stuff on your own. For tent camping, I think it would be hard pressed to make a tent and keep it waterproof and water resistant and stuff like that. So yeah, that's another aspect of hammock camping that I really like, is you can make a lot of your own gear if you're so inclined. I love working with my hands, so it was perfect for me. So what I got here in front of me is my underquilt, and made this also. There's videos online. YouTube is a invaluable resource on hammock camping. Watched a couple videos on YouTube. Thought, what the heck, I'll give it a shot. And this is what I got. There's also spreadsheets online where you can get the theoretical limit or I guess warmth rating of your quilt. According to that that spreadsheet, this is good down to 20 degrees. Personally, I've had it into the upper 20s and I've been toasty warm. So I'm sure I can get it lower than that. But I'm what you call a warm sleeper. Even at home, I'm kicking the covers off and I sleep very warm. So that could be another reason I could probably push this maybe down to 10 degrees even. So let's get this thing set up so it can get some loft to it. On the end here, I just have what's called a mitten hook. It's like on a lot of pairs of gloves where you can hook them together and they won't separate. So all you do is take the little mitten hook here, simply clip it over your whoopee sling, walk to the other end, and do the same. Go ahead and stuff your hammock there into it. And if you have the underquilt set up correctly, I set this up and I haven't touched the tightening it or anything since I set it up, so I know it's always going to be correct. But when you set up your underquilt, you actually want it to, it's kind of gonna lift up your hammock a little bit. Just that's how you know it's kind of adjusted correctly. So there's the underquilt. Let's get the top quilt out and we'll throw that in the hammock here so that can start lofting up for us. And yes, again, I made my hammock. Integrated bug net, so you just unzipper it, throw it over the other side, and keep it out of the way. So here we got the top quilt, and essentially it's a sleeping bag, a mummy sleeping bag that has no zipper on it. So it has a little cinch cord down at the bottom, so you can make a little spot for your feet so they don't poke out the end, and it just lays over you like a quilt. So we'll throw this in here, get that locking up. And the reasoning behind having both an underquilt and a top quilt is when you're hammock camping, you're obviously laying in the hammock, and if you had a sleeping bag underneath you, you're compressing all that insulation. It's not doing you anything. So that's why they have an underquilt, and these are what's called differentially cut. So the outer layer is actually larger than the inner layer. So what that does, it provides some kind of humps in the underquilt, which will allow the down to loft, and it's not sucked up tight against your body. Same thing with the top quilt, is that has those chambers in it that will loft up, and you won't be compressing the down, so you get all the warmth from the down. All right, flip that guy back over, keep the bugs out. Let's set up the tarp. All right, so here's the tarp, and right now it's in what's called snake skins, affectionately. And really what all that is doing is keeping everything compact and easy to work with. Again, made the snake skins, made the tarp. Everything you see here in front of you is I've made just from ideas online, tips online, videos online, stuff like that. So when you set up your tarp, you want what's called the V. And essentially that is the tarp goes around the tree and the suspension comes out in the middle of the V. This gives you more coverage over your hammock in case it does rain. And another thing, I'm using a lot thinner cordage here. This doesn't get as tight as a hammock strap, so you don't have to worry about hurting the tree. This is not supporting any weight other than the weight of the tarp, and I think this tarp that I made is well under a pound. So there's no harm being done to the tree with this little cordage. And I'm going to set this pretty high. Because I don't think there's going to be any weather that moves in. Okay, as you can see, the tarp's now set up. Have it set up pretty high. I'm not worried about weather coming in, so that's not an issue. And that's a 12-foot tarp. The ridge line on that is 12 feet. So that means like the peak of it. If you think of an A-frame, the ridge line is at the peak of that A-frame. So it's 12 feet across from there, and as you can see, it is really close to the trees. So these trees are probably about 12 feet apart. So now I'm going to take you over and show you a close-up of some of the hardware that I have on the tarp. I got a lot of stuff from Dutch. He's an online vendor. So let's walk over here and see what I got. So here's the Dutch clip that I was talking about earlier that I have the whoopee slings attached to. Essentially it's a cinch buckle, but these are actually made out of titanium. Dutch is really big into the titanium, the weight savings, ultralight stuff, very ultralight stuff. He was actually, he thru hiked the Appalachian Trail a couple years ago with the hammock the whole way, the whole roughly 2,200 miles of it, and hammock camped the entire way. So there's the Dutch clip, and up here I have what is called a Dutch flea. A lot of people use the Wasp or the Dutch fly up here, but I wanted to save a little bit more weight and went with the Dutch flea, and you can kind of tell why it's named that way. It kind of looks like a flea. And over here on this end, this has simply just a little clip, hooks onto this cordage here, and it's this is another piece of Dutch hardware. All right, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set up the tarp for you guys, so you guys can see what that looks like. I have behind me here it's called a Winter 12 tarp, and it has doors on the end, so you can make it more weather resistant, I guess, for winter camping, keep the snow and the rain out. So yeah, let's set this up and I'll show you kind of how I do it. And that, folks, is essentially set up. I could probably do a couple more tweaks to it. Like I usually tie these doors back so they're not flapping in the wind. But yeah, this is set up in what's called porch mode. So you can hang out in your hammock, still have a view. A lot of times people leave it in porch mode and sleep in it that way. Obviously if there's a heavy storm coming in, you want to lower this side, take your trekking poles out and lower it down and get the tarp closer to the ground so that there's no rain that will blow in underneath the tarp. But yeah, like I said, this is essentially how I set up. There's a couple little more camp chores I have to do to really have a true camp, but you don't need to see all that. So with that said, I think I'm going to make late lunch, early dinner. So talk to you guys later. So, thanks for tuning in. With that said, it's time for me to eat. If you like this video, give me a comment down at the bottom. I haven't made too many of these videos, so any tips you can give me are much appreciated. So yeah, give me a like down below the video, give me a comment, and see you on the next one.